We're here ready to welcome this guest after that long rambling story of insanity from my past. Today we bring you a different kind of entertainer than what we normally do. And this one is one I've been pretty excited for since it got originally scheduled, because he is still professionally doing something that I professionally did around the turn of the century. Yep, I'm old enough to be able to say that and mean it. That's pretty awesome. I don't take it as a sign of age. It's a sign that I somehow managed to survive. And I'm still here in 2020, and so are you, and so is James, and so is Darren the DJ, man. He's got a great online DJ site that I have been pouring into. But Darren, why don't you go ahead and give everybody a little introduction to yourself, a little information about the site, and we'll just take it from there, man.
Yeah, I'm Darren Bruce. I am the executive producer of a series called The DJ Sessions. What we do is we feature A-list celebrity DJs, local DJs, and stream them live to a worldwide audience, and also have our podcast that we have on the back end. So you can watch our shows live when we go live, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But you can also subscribe to our podcast series as well. And as we upload our latest episodes, they download right to your mobile device, they download right to your computer. You can watch your shows, subscribe to them, and go. And we've been doing the show for about 10 years. We have over 1,800 plus episodes. We're doing 12 events a month, where we can literally, right now, our current capacity, if I wanted to just baseline it, would be about 144 hours of content a month. Is what we're positioned to be producing. So we can actually do a lot more, and I'll talk a little bit about more how we are accomplishing that later in the show.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's I'm super happy that you even are. I fell out of the electronic music scene a long time ago, mostly because I had to get the hell away from drugs, and they had become synonymous for me, as can easily happen, especially back then. Because I was involved in like the underground rave scene here in Ohio. We were doing all kinds of just insanity, breaking into warehouses. There were some places that would let us hold events, but I mean, like in the Columbus area, for example, there wasn't really anybody that was willing to let a bunch of jacked up kids party all night long in their venue. So we would have to find warehouses. I remember one time, like, we got shut down by the police department, and in retrospect, it was good that they did it, because the third floor was like starting to bow in a little bit. That was the drum and bass floor. Everybody was just jumping, and every time they hit the floor, it would just go woof, woof. So the fire marshal's like, "Are you guys like trying to kill people? You're lucky we caught this." And we're like, "Yeah." And then he saw like how he had to rig the it was some straight groove shit, man.
I remember those days. I started in '92, going to my first nightclub, and watching that grow into the rave culture scene here in the Seattle area, and one of our larger places that a lot of us used to go to in our youth, that now has been bulldozed or torn down. Those are homes, But we talk about it in the old schoolers talk about it all the time. Remember this, remember that, remember these places, warehouse parties, and what went on. And it has become, over the last 10 years, it's definitely become a lot more commercial in the States. Overseas, there was always these discotheques, and there were always these massive events, festivals going on. But it wasn't until about 10, maybe even 12, 13 years ago, you really started to see it become part of the culture. And it was going strong for a little bit until, and it still is going strong, except for right now. But this term came out, which I try to mercifully never use, which just brands everything as EDM or electronic dance music, because all genres of electronic music, if you dance to it, is electronic dance music. But EDM became its own genre, and that's when you started seeing the media pour into it and paying a lot of attention. This EDM, this EDM, this EDM. It's like, well, wait a second. We're a group of house people over here. We're a group of drum and bass people over here. Don't associate us with these large festivals. These are these EDM festivals where people are dying at and overdose in the middle of the deserts and all that fun stuff, because that's not what some of the culture is really about, which is, having a good time, dancing to good music. You're going to find that kind of entry to alcohol or drugs in any event market, unless you're going to a completely clean and sober, type of event where they're going to frisk and have dogs at the door and there's no in-out privileges, or even then, you're still going to find somebody's going to go into that, consuming or partaking in some way, shape, or form. So it's kind of part of the culture in a sense, and it goes hand in hand. And, I've tried to throw parties and events myself where, we've locked out the doors, but people want to go in and out and have a cigarette, but then they go out to their car bar and then they go do their other things. And then they come back, they want to come back into the event. How do you stop that? It's an ongoing thing. And until we get something like the thermometers they're using with businesses now that could test people at the door to say, you're on this, you can't come in, you're really not gonna be able to keep that out of the game.
No. I mean, even back in the day, we had this. There were a group of police officers from Cleveland, Ohio, who would basically be security for us whenever we were holding raves. Like in actual venues. Obviously, they wouldn't, come to our warehouse parties because then they're like basically helping us break the law. But like the Dayton Gym Club, there was another place called the Roller Dome, and they would let us have parties. Because it was rental venues, and whatever you did with it's what you did with it. They were pretty cool people, but they were called the Afro Crew because it was like 4 black dudes. They'd show up in all black, you know what I mean, gas masks, just like hardcore looking, and even they couldn't stop the drugs from getting. Partially because we were also the ones that had them, that were holding the rave, but like we knew other dealers were getting in, you know what I mean, and you couldn't stop it. You couldn't. But we were super careful to provide an environment to where if you were consuming, you were at least consuming in a safe manner. We provided test kits. Even back then, we were doing test kits for people. What was it? Rave Safe, I think, was the name of the organization back then. Who would go to parties and they would test people's ecstasy pills before they took them to make sure, what was actually in it. That way you weren't getting, a DXM and ecstasy combination, which is not going to go well. Your body's going to completely overheat. No matter how much water you drink, you're going to lose your body's ability to regulate temperature. You're going to fucking die. We knew that back then. We weren't uneducated. So it's not like... And the government back then was passing things called the Rave Act and all kinds of other crazy. It was wild as fuck back around 2000. So it's, on one hand, it makes me happy, in the past couple of years, whenever I've slowly gotten back into, electronic music, to see that it has become a huge thing internationally. Because back in 2000, if you wanted to go to a really, really big event, it was, underground. Or in Europe, like you said, Paul Oakenfold was booking like U2 style arenas, Digweed arenas, like full of hundreds of thousands of people. Like the shit was crazy. The Isle of Wight Festival, it was like a 3-day, like million man and woman fucking just wildness. So, but I agree, man. Like this EDM thing, I think is kind of weird how they're trying to lump everything into it, because now it's hard for somebody like me who wants to get back into the music to really find like some of the finer niches of stuff like raga and jump up, some of the stuff I was really, really into back in the day.
Well, I would say that attributes to, the people, we used to live in a rock culture where you had the band. The band was you had 4 or 5 members to that band traditionally, and to be the rock star was the goal. And now you get the DJ that wants to be the goal is to be that singular act, that one person act, that one DJ show, and they cater to the masses, to the genres they play. So, if you want to make it big, you may not make it big in the happy hardcore realm or in the psytrance world, but you may make it big in the trance world or the house world. And I have a number of A-list celebrity DJs that have appeared on my show in the past, and when they get booked to play a show at a nightclub, they are expected to play a specific genre of music. And when they come on our show, I say, hey, they go, what do you want me to play? I said, the decks are yours, play what you want. Their eyes light up because they're like, wait a second, I've been wanting to try out a drum and bass set for a long time, and I'm typically branded as a house DJ. Let me go for it. And I go, the world's your oyster. The decks are yours. And they just love it, you know. And we have a lot of exclusive sets. You know, we've had over, you know, 100, 150 A-list celebrity guest appearances on the show. Currently looking for more, obviously, with what's happened, kind of shut down the artists from coming to our market. And what we've seen is, you know, when we were doing our shows and getting ready to launch earlier this year, I use this number figuratively, but I'd say if there was 10 million DJs in the world, A-listers, amateurs, beginners, whatever it is, you know, I'd say about 100,000 of them were streaming regularly online or had something going with a regularly scheduled show. They were trying to get people to watch. People weren't necessarily watching so much because they could go to the nightclubs and check them out there, and it still was active participation. There were events going on. And once March hit, my phone just started ringing off the hook. People asking me about copyright regulations. People asking me about which streaming platform is the best, what cameras to use. Every question book, just over it. I just started getting repetitive with it. And luckily, a friend of ours created a document, and I just started sharing that document with everyone. Here you go. And because we're a Twitch featured partner, and we've been a featured partner with Ustream and Livestream. You know, we've been in the Apple Store as a new and noteworthy podcast, recognized as a featured podcast in iTunes over the years. So I've had a lot of information gathering, and this all goes back from, you know, my days starting as a broadcast television producer as well, you know, launching shows to NBC and Fox. But, you know, when March hit, I saw all 10 million of those people all jumped online and started live streaming. So, you know, I kind of took a seat back to focus on some other endeavors that we're working on, which is our silent disco event series, which is now we can now actually do it as an essential business and be one of the only nightclub entities that, I mean, I've seen other things online, but I haven't seen anyone really able to put together an event. And we are literally writing the playbook on how to do a safe social distance event, working with our state and our city, county people, and following all the guidelines as an essential business to actually keep events alive. I was just part of a awareness campaign. You may have heard about it. It's called Red Alert Restart. And we make events, hashtag we make events. I work with the regional director here out of Seattle that put the Seattle chapter together. And this is the entertainment industry as you know it, going belly up. I mean, it's going bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's not
I know
good.
this for a fact, like intimately. That's my first job I got in entertainment was in a live, was at a place called Live Technologies. And I mean, they're what are they doing during, I mean, the whole summer, everything's canceled.
Yeah. And it's great that everyone jumped online. We saw this whole mass migration online. But one of the things you can't really do online is technically you're not supposed to monetize because you're using copywritten content.
Right.
So people like, and even with one of the events companies that we worked with here in Seattle, we actually put on the world's ever first drive-through rave. And basically you have a huge full production setup. You drive your car in, sit there, watch the show for an hour, and then take off. And then the next group of cars would come in. And in our state, they came in and said, you know, hey, you can do drive-in church, you can do drive-in movie theaters, but you can't do drive-in concerts. And it's like, what's the difference?
Right.
There's no difference whatsoever. And I've even toyed with the idea of doing, okay, well, if we can do drive-in movie theaters, why don't we just film the DJ behind the movie screen, stream it live to a movie screen, and then they're watching the performance with all the lights and everything from the movie screen. And then it's not a concert, it's a drive-in live stream.
Right.
But the artist is still playing live via the broadcast. There's all these loopholes, but you know, it's just interesting on how it's happened, where it's going to come back. You know, we were saying back in April, May of this year, we were looking at February, you know, early spring, that things were going to come back. Now the industry is really saying, we're looking at late summer, early fall next year, 2021, that maybe stuff will lift and be open. And that's an industry, you know, you look at the entertainment industry as a whole, they were the first to be shut down and they will be the last to open up. So, you know, we're really pushing for the advocacy to get the legislation, get the senators, get the politicians, get the cities on board to start helping to get some funding to help these businesses stay afloat, to stay around.
Yeah, I mean, do you
think
Do you think that we're ever gonna see a time where you can have those like oversold, crazy venues again?
Uh, I yes, I think that will come back. I think it'll come back once the numbers start really being published, when we
Hmm.
start getting real hard data, without, I would say, the media involvement. I've seen some things that I kind of question a lot out there. I have always said, let's just look at the math. Let's see what's happening at the bottom line at the end of the day. I won't get political here in any way, shape, or form, but it might be some changing of the guard, which might
Hmm.
start shedding some light on some things come November, maybe December, whenever that's supposed to happen too. But it really is about trying to get people. Even it isn't just the industry people; it's the public as a whole that is missing that collaboration. I mean, you would go to even go into a
Hmm.
restaurant. You have to sit at the table. In our state, you have to sit at the table. You can only be if you're inside with somebody from your household and you're 6 feet away. You
Hmm.
can't go to the bar and order a drink. It's not like you say, "Hey, Joe, what's up? Let's go to the bar. Let's go have a couple beers. Let's go shoot some pool. Let's go do that." So even if we sit outdoors, we can only have 5 people at a table. So you can't do a birthday party at a restaurant.
Right.
One of the things you can do is you can go to a public park, and in our state, you're only supposed to have 5 people in your group. And I mean, are
Jesus.
people following that? Or are they not following that? And all that
Well,
fun
and
stuff.
you got hit real hard right at the beginning too,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah, we were kind of ground zero for a lot of stuff, and I think that's why they're playing it the safest they can,
Hmm.
and watching our numbers go down, which is great, but all it takes is, you know, somebody from another state coming in, and boom, you got another resurgence.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and so a lot of people are waiting for this cure to happen, which or not cure, I'm sorry, this vaccine to happen, which is interesting because all the trials and how it has to go through all the testing, and they're going to go,
It's
wait a
not
second,
gonna work.
and we made it up in 6 months, and here you go. And okay, what if somebody still refuses to take it? And then they go to a
Yeah.
major festival or event. We already had a few restaurants in our city that opened up, and a worker had COVID, and they were like, okay, got to shut the restaurant down, got to notify
Mhm.
everyone that came in. And to me, that's bad for business. And who wants to be put in a packed nightclub like sardines when
Hmm.
there's no way to manage that? There's no protocol to
Well,
keep.
and are you liable if someone gets sick?
Can you put a disclaimer on your door, on your front door, saying buying a ticket to this event? We have disclosures and waiver forms for our events, even though we're completely doing it safe. We are
Hmm.
actually safer than 90% of the businesses that are open right now when we do our safe, silent disco events. Because when somebody approaches us to get a headset, not only is that headset already sanitized, it's in a plastic bag. When we give it to them, we push it across a 6 foot table. So we're already 6 feet away from them. And we have a rope around our entire DJ booth enclosure that lets no one
Hmm.
come within 6 feet of us at any point. And there's only myself and 2 DJs allowed within that enclosure at all times. So there's no public interaction whatsoever. But when you go to a food counter, or you go to the grocery store and that person's checking out your groceries, or you go to the bank,
Right.
they're a foot and a half away from you.
Yeah.
Or you go to a restaurant and the server is grabbing food off the back and they're going from table to table to table. Ours is one of the safest operations out there. And we just really want to set that precedence to show that some type of collective event where people are sharing a similar experience can still be maintained and done in a safe manner.
Hmm.
Well, and there's people in my industry who are doing it pretty damn well. Dave Chappelle's been doing it all summer long, um, holding outdoor comedy shows dang near every freaking night. And I know a crap load of people who have gone because they have
Yeah.
way more money than I do.
No
And they're
shit.
all like, it's super strict. It's like 2 chairs 10 feet away from the next set of 2 chairs. Like it's out in a huge field.
Yep.
We were discussing, and I mean, it's something I still want to do. It's just slowly getting harder and harder to figure out how it's going to work. We were wanting to start a monthly comedy show that would be, broadcast. But then the governor slapped this rule on restaurants and bars where
Hmm.
you can't serve alcohol after 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is the last call. So it's like, okay.
There was a
So
back end way of fucking curfewing us.
yeah, right.
Because
So
the restaurants sued when they initially set up a rule and they won. So the government went back in and said, okay, you can stay open, but you can't serve alcohol or you lose your liquor
After 10
license.
o'clock, or you lose your
It's
liquor
like,
license, right? So
They,
what's the point
and
of
they
being
pulled
in a
your
bar after 10? You know, so there
right.
goes your stand up after 10 o'clock, which means
Hmm.
you got to start the show at like 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying? It's like I totally get it. So now we're stuck going in Ohio at the beginning of September, looking at maybe doing the first show in October now, and that's whenever it starts to get cold. Nobody's gonna want to fucking be out in the damn field watching fucking comedy in fucking October in Ohio.
Yeah, that's the other half of it. Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, I know up in Seattle is probably pretty similar to Ohio. Like, 8 months of the year, you're fucked. You can't go
yeah.
outside.
Well, I actually have a hashtag for that that's going to be coming out here shortly, and it's going to be called hashtag Bundle Up and Boogie.
Well, I
So
mean, I will say ravers, there's some pretty dedicated fucking
yeah,
people whenever it comes to getting out in it. Because you're dancing. If you're
I've been to
dancing,
some
you're
frozen
born.
ass shows too.
Yeah, man. I've certainly have been too. I mean, there was one we called it was called Wishing on a Star. We had, I think, in 2001. We had a
Hmm.
Humpty Vision headlining. It was in like February, and there were people lined up down the damn street, getting directed by the fire marshal at the time, which was crazy cool, uh, given the climate that was at that time. And it's just kids freezing to get in the door. And once you got in the door, it was
Yeah.
like walls were sweating. It God, that is Jesus. Oh, good
The
times.
good old days.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's where we live in Seattle. Everyone has their winter clothes. They have their winter gear.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to do this, and everyone's going to be flying up from LA or Phoenix where they're used to, 75-degree weather in the middle of December or something like that, and they're coming to Seattle. And we actually had an event closure last year, I think it was, and it turned out the headliner DJs went up to the park. They brought the sound system out of the park, and it drew like 200-300 people to the
Hmm.
event. And there was snow. I mean, a good 7 inches, 8 inches of snow on the ground, and people were out there partying and dancing to the music for 4 or 5 hours. So our diehard Seattle people, they'll come out and dance. We're counting on that. Again, wanting to make sure we can share that in a safe way, that they can
Hmm.
social distance, physical distance, and still be able to have that shared experience. And of course, we stream everything live online too from our shows. So if somebody doesn't want to go, they can chime in and watch the show online while their friends at the show, and their friend at the show can say, tune in, I'm on the red channel. Their
Hmm.
friend at home can watch the red channel. Their friend at home could go watch the blue channel and say, no, you need to turn into the blue channel. Then the friend at the event could turn into the blue channel. It's a one-of-a-kind concept we do using the silent disco technology, where we stream each one of our stages, and we have 4 channels. So I can have 4 DJs playing at the same time,
Hmm.
same stage. You can choose what channel you want to listen to, but you can also, that signal is broadcast live to the world. And so a person could sit at home and be all warm with their hot cocoa, or with their air conditioning unit, or be wherever they want to be in the world on their mobile device or their laptop, and be watching the show and tuning in, chatting with everyone, engaging with them. So it's a very interesting round trip process that we built. I haven't seen that done by any organization yet. Everyone's streaming from home right now. And I, I kind of see them all where we were at 10 years ago when we first started,
Right.
and I kind of just go, yeah, okay. I've been here once before. So we'll see.
At least you've been there.
So, it'll be awesome.
Now, do you stream that for free or is
Yeah, right now it is. The model of our show has always been the end user would be able to get our content for free. We were just looking to line up sponsors, had some on board that we were going to launch, and we were actually going to do a nationwide tour with one of our sponsors. It was going to be a great deal. They want us to go to about 12 different markets, starting on the West Coast and then going down through the South and going over to the East Coast. It was going to be a great journey. We were going to use our mobile studio. I don't know if you got a chance to see that on our website.
Yeah, I did. That is super cool, dude. Super cool.
For those of your viewers that don't know, our mobile studio, or the DJ Sessions mobile studio, is basically we built a big glass box on the back of a truck. It's a mobile billboard truck. And then we built a television studio in it that we can drive around and park at major events and do our interviews out of the back of the truck. Well, because of new technology that's just been released in the last couple of years, we are now actually able to drive around and stream live as we drive around in the truck. So
Hell
think about
yeah.
a party bus with big glass windows with everyone partying in the back, and a sound system you can hear from about a quarter mile away, and
Nice.
we'll stream it live online as we do it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I was watching DJ Shaggy earlier, and I was
Oh yeah,
sitting there in the back, just like, but the whole thing is bouncing. There's like people climbing up in the back of the truck. And obviously, this was like from 2019, I think, so it was pre-pandy, and there was like a little old lady standing over on the side, like taking pictures, like, oh my god, the kids at home are never gonna believe this. Like, dude, that is fucking brilliant. Such a
so
good
funny.
idea.
It's so funny you mentioned that episode because that was done 1 year ago. Every year, the world's largest video game expo happens in Seattle called PAX, or the Penny Arcade.
Yeah.
Right.
For the past couple years, because we're a Twitch featured partner, we know all those video gamers that are going there have Twitch accounts. So we drive our truck around for 10 hours a day around the convention center to those 65,000, 80,000 people that are coming for 4 days. And Shaggy had dressed up as a Borderlands 2 character. And in the first, I think it was the first half hour we were out, somebody at the convention center saw us driving by. They were about a good 200 feet away from the truck, took a small 19-second video, 20-second video of the truck. They hashtagged it PAX. They hashtagged it Borderlands 3. They hashtagged just a few other hashtags. The first 2 hours, it already had like 17,000 views on Twitter.
Nice.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was like, it's just that kind of exciting. That's what we live to do. I want to do things with our show that other people aren't doing. Leave the living room, leave the studio, get out in public, get in touch with the people that really love the show, get them dancing, get them on the show. That's always been one of our things. And that's why you see a number of different genres with our show on our website. We'll have the mobile sessions, which is the truck. We'll have the on-location sessions, which is when we're usually at nightclubs. We'll have the rooftop sessions where we're at high-class rooftops. The secret sessions are when we bring A-list celebrities by. The cab sessions are when I'm driving around in the truck. So I got the whole party going on behind me, but I have a cab up in front, a camera up in front, interviewing the DJs, talking with them. Think of it like Taxi Cab Confessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Party going on in the back, and that's being streamed live, all in conjunction with what's going on in the truck. We just a lot of different things. I like to give a smorgasbord of different events and try to brand it into each unique flavor of showing the diversity of what can be done with live streaming and with podcasting. It's just the world is an oyster, and it's our time as broadcasters and podcasters and live streamers to actually utilize these mediums that are set forth and take advantage of them. And one thing that I do see happening that this could be a naysayer or as a positive, but after being in the industry for so long, when things go back to quote unquote normal, I say there's going to be a 60 to 80% drop in content creation and a 60 to 80% drop in content consumption, because people are going to go back to work and they're going to go be in the office, i.e. they're not going to be on unemployment. They're not going to have that time to really sit and watch 10 shows a day. And they'll pick and choose what they want to follow. And that's going to be based, probably 90% of that will be based on production value, consistency, quality of programming, quality of content. And those that stick through and get over that curve. Because when I first started this, when I first did my first intro for my first broadcast television show that I was doing, I wasn't supposed to be in front of the camera. Just a little hindsight funny story. I wasn't supposed to be in front of the camera, but on my 30-second intro, I think I did 67 takes. And then I and probably did another 25 more because I didn't like it. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to be right. If I took a wrong breath, or if I bounced or did something with my hands, or it was just insane. So it takes time to get to that level of perfection. I was just in an interview yesterday, and the podcaster that was interviewing me said, go take a look at Joe Rogan's first stuff.
That was terrible.
So bad.
Yeah.
It was crap. And you go over time and you start to get good microphones like what you gentlemen have, some good lighting in the background.
Oh, thanks.
I should have my lav mic on, and I should have my lighting gear set up and all that fun stuff as well. But I'm just going off my MacBook Pro camera right now, and hopefully the audio is great. But you'll start to learn, and it starts to become, it becomes a passion, or a hobby becomes a passion. Then you might figure out a way to actually make some dollars off of it. You might be able to get enough of a following to get some sponsorships.
That'd be nice.
Monetize it.
Yeah, I mean that's the name of the game, and I kind of like how things have gone online. And this happened before the pandemic, but what originally got me back into electronic music actually was like Karl Cox started doing this stuff online where he would like just hang out and talk and then he would play some music for a while. Dude, I love Karl Cox. I've always loved kid. That guy is such a banger and he's such a cool dude.
Yeah.
Such a cool dude. And was like, holy shit, Karl Cox is still going? Like, all right, who else is still around, And there's still quite a few people from back in the day who seem to still be making music, which is really cool. But like, it's grown into something I never really thought it was going to. Whenever I got out, I was like, I got to get sober. I got to get the fuck away from this shit. It's crazy as fuck. And, my perception of what the scene had become had gotten skewed because of what I was doing. And I didn't realize there was like this whole movement to actually legitimize what we were doing.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because one of the questions I ask when I interview DJs is, do you see yourself retiring from electronic music? And you go Karl Cox, who just keeps going and going and going. Even it's funny you also mentioned Karl Cox because his PR agent was one of my friends, and she actually got Dave Dresden, who was the first A-list celebrity we ever had on our show. 2 years before a show called The Boiler Room. We were streaming A-list celebrities before anyone was streaming A-list celebrities 10 years ago. But she's also Karl Cox's PR manager, and we have a request to get Karl on the show for an interview right now. It's being processed and going through. So her fingers crossed on that one. But yeah, one of the questions we asked, because Karl has been doing it for so long, do we see these DJs retiring? And what happens is you see some of them retiring or getting out of the game, but they're so popular, so big, that some rich person says, you know what, I'll pay you $50,000 to come play, this party that's going to be for 1,000 people, and I'll pay for your rider, and I'll pay for this, and I'll pay for that. And they'll go charge their friends $200 a ticket to do it, and there'll be 1,000 people there, so they're getting $200,000 to pay for however the math works out. But basically, and those, because they're throwing out, and that person will come out of retirement to do that party. Because in their rider, they're going to get their 5-star hotel. They're going to get their airfare. They're going to get their 6 friends to go with them. They're going to get a week-long vacation. Plus make 50 grand and party, like in some tropical badass area. Who would retire from that? You don't have the full band that you have to get together when the lead guitar player decides to go off that way, and the bassist decides to go off that way, and the drummer's locked into a contract with another band. Sorry, I live on one of the most infamous corners in Seattle, Washington. I call it Third and Crime. Not to digress, but it's called Third and Crime.
You're in Chop.
It's actually Third and Crime. Well, actually, that's up on the hill, not too far from me.
That's scary,
but
dude.
Third Crime is much worse than Chop is. I have actually a website dedicated to it called thirdandcrime.org, where I have cameras set up when something happens. They stream 24/7, looking at
awesome.
the Ave, and that's another little side project. We can talk about that later.
Awesome.
Interview about Third and Crime. But what's the retirement age of a DJ when you have a solo person that's in the band and they have their own label, they have their own production company, they have their own PR person, and they're not answering to anyone once they're out of those contracts.
Not to mention the access to music that DJs have now. Like one of the things James and I were talking about before you joined today was back whenever I was a DJ. I was a DJ for about 6.5 years, and I lugged around wax, and I refused to touch anything but wax. Like I wouldn't do it. I hated CDs, a little rubber turn pad and all that. Nah. Just give me 2 turntables, a DJ M500. I'm good. That's all I need. Fuck this bullshit. And then whenever, Karl Cox and I started messing around with that bullshit app that's on your iPhone, and it was like, well, this is kind of similar and hard as fuck because there's like no room to do anything, but fuck, it's close, I guess. It's kind of fun. Like, man, I was finding music I had been looking for years. Like, just Phantom 45 tracks that, like, I don't fucking think exist anywhere else but on the internet now. So yeah, I could see why a DJ would never retire. I thought about starting up again, and my hearing's fucked. I've got tinnitus in one of my ears. Go figure, from always having that left ear exposed so you can hear your output. And yeah, I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going deaf anymore. I'll just be a comedian. because at least then I'll have a job where I don't get skin cancer, and I can like write off all the other bullshit to that.
Well, that's a good point you bring up, that when an album got pressed, there was only a certain amount that went out. Even if you had 10,000 and you had a US release, how many record stores were there? If they got 1 copy or 2 copies or even 3 copies and the DJs picked them up, you didn't have that in your arsenal. And now I got DJs that come to me and they go, I get 20, 30,000 20 to 30,000 songs sent to me every week that they have to go through. This is the reason why I'm not a DJ. I'm a video guy. I don't have time to do that on top of everything else I want to do. Plus, I never wanted to make it the Darren DJ show. This was to highlight my friends and also interview and talk with and highlight the celebrity DJs and show the world what was going on through our medium of podcasting and the live streaming. So, I mean, just the amount of work that I hear, even my own resident DJs, they have to go through. Okay, I'm going to prepare a set for this Sunday. Okay, you're playing for an hour. You only got to find 12 to 15 songs. Yeah, but that's going to take me about 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like my 20 hours.
And it's
like, wow. I mean, I get it. They want their set to be awesome. And here's the one thing is when you go and when you would put your crates together and or they're putting their set lists together, well, they're doing that because they're usually playing in front of a club. And you got that club vibe, that audience participation. You can tell set's going well. I can drop this here. When you move it to an online world and you aren't watching the chat room, you don't know how well you're doing. So it always has to be a banger. It always has to be going and going and going. And you know, you don't get any feedback till somebody later comes in and says, that was an awesome set. You know, but they might have been grooving in the room, but that's one person. You might have had another 100 people watching like, I wasn't feeling that, or I wasn't into that, or it didn't work. You know, so how do you gauge that in an online world where you can't see your audience that you're so used to? I mean, that was one of our biggest hiccups on the show in the beginning was DJs were nervous. They were static. I mean, they'd be DJing like this. And I'd be over there, watch our old shows. I'd be dancing my ass off for 4 hours. And people used to think I was on drugs. They'd be like, what? They would tune in to watch me dance for 4 hours and forget the DJ who was standing next to me playing the music. Going, well, what is this show about? I got a DJ here, but this guy's bouncing around dancing, bouncing around. And they're like, is he on drugs? Is he on something? What's going on here? But it actually became a notable part of the show that got us a lot of viewership. It's because you got this crazy guy bouncing into a DJ. But when COVID happened and everyone jumped online, everyone starts doing it from their bedroom and their friends aren't allowed to come over. You aren't supposed to throw parties. You aren't supposed to have Lord, that was very taboo. You know, how do you gauge that audience participation? And that's one of the biggest things that it's hard to do as a DJ performing online. How do you build your engagement with your live audience when you're DJing, but then you got to go over here and type on the keyboard at the same time when you're supposed to be looking for tracks over here, you know, unless you're going to hit a play button and have a pre-recorded set, which you can get teared up pretty quick online for
yeah, that's never been cool. I remember DJ Funk back in the day was at a fucking party in Cincinnati, Ohio. I fucking saw this shit with my own eyeballs. He was whacked, man. He was fucking gone that night. He always had a crack problem back then. I don't know if you know who DJ Funk is or not. But he fucking passed out on the decks, and you would expect the music to get fucked up.
Oh no,
it kept going. It just kept going, and somebody fucking pulled out like one of those fucking Sony Walkman disc players and was like, and he had pretty bad rap in Ohio for a little while after that, man. It was and he was a big DJ Funk was a big fucking DJ back then. I don't know what it's like now, but back then he was fucking huge. Everybody loves some ass and titties, ass and titties, ass, titties, titties, ass and titties. You know what I'm saying?
For Apple, I had a debate with one of the coworkers I was working with saying, how would you know if a DJ's up in a booth and the public cannot see the control decks? How would you know if they just didn't put in an iPod, hit play, and let it go? And just keep the phone doing your highs, lows, and mids, maybe putting a flange in or something crazy during the set. And if they knew the set, because they made the set, they knew what tracks were they listened to it, they would know where the mix points were, and they could just fake the mix points, and nobody would know. Nobody would know at all. So Yeah, I know people that have done it in the past. I know people that tried to get on my show and hit the play button and then pretend like, look, I'm doing a DJ set, and they'd steal it from somebody online and say, this is what's going on. But they don't last too long in the industry. People, other DJs watch them and go, the guy hit the play button and he didn't do anything. He didn't even switch over to deck 2. So,
Yeah, it's like the crossfaders never moved from the left side. You didn't even change your cue points for your headphones at all. Like, yeah,
which is ironic though. I just found out that Denon, Pioneer rival, Pioneer is pretty much the industry standard of the game. Denon actually makes a deck where you can DJ and have 2 separate. You can basically DJ on one deck, so you would never need a cross. You could have a mixer, but you would never need a crossfade because you can have 2 decks, but have 4 channels from each of the 2 decks. So you can queue up one track. You can queue up track 1, track 2 on deck 1, queue up track 3 and track 4 on deck 2. So if you didn't have a deck 2, you could queue up track 1 and track 2 on deck 1. You'd never need a cross. You could crossfade. I guess you would need a crossfade between the 2 of them, but you only need one deck to do it. Technology's getting crazy.
yeah. This is I'm good. I'm still fine with it. I just want a crossfader, 4 channels. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
If I do get some DJ equipment, it's gonna be nothing fucking crazy. I wish, man, I wish they still. I mean, I'm sure you could probably get them, but I mean, like the old DJ M500. Like in my mind, that's still the perfect mixer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the last mixer I used. I imagine Pioneer's probably moved pretty far past that.
Yeah, I mean, there is a niche for vinyl, but again, it's just not the request for it because the industry's screaming, I want to be a DJ and get me something quick, get me something cheap. I mean, the Pioneer RX2 is what I use for my shows. It's nice, it's portable, it's all in one. You get a flash drive, your record box, you drop it in, you're ready to go. And on your flash drive, you could have 10,000, 20,000 songs on it now. And
I'm not saying I wouldn't use the digital music. I'm just talking about the physical mixer. Like I can still picture that mixer in my brain, but I also haven't touched a deck for 18 fucking years.
Mm-hmm. The higher you go, the more professional, obviously, the mixers go. I mean, I've seen some like I don't want to say it's the Heath and Allen. That's a really nice one. It's a knob mixer instead of the crossfade. It's all knob. Really, I think it's. No, not Heath and Allen. Gosh, I should know this. It's a really badass mixer, though. But you get up in the, I think Pioneer just released a teaser video for their Nexus 3, which is their highest end system that all the top-end DJs requesting their writers that cost, a setup for that is like $6,000 to $8,000.
Awesome.
Yeah. Unless you're making money playing, it's like, okay, you got it, and it's going to sit in your bedroom and collect dust. Or you're probably going to end up renting it out to events and to your friends more than you will be getting booked to play gigs.
Yeah.
With the way the nepotism of the industry works. Unfortunately, we're trying to break that stigma. Our show has always been an open table format. We welcome any DJ that wants to come by and play, as long as they know what they're doing and they're not going to train wreck the whole damn time. We do have a request to play form that DJs can fill out, and we like to know who we're talking with and who we're playing. If it's just been your bedroom and house parties you've been doing, we might want to see a mix or two come from you before we let you play on the stage. But we've always maintained the opportunity of open decks, open genres, open formats. I used to joke that the only format I wouldn't let on board was happy hardcore because I just can't stand 4 hours of happy hardcore. For those that don't know happy hardcore, you obviously know what it is. It's somewhere
so
about
hard.
160 plus beats per minute, 170 beats per minute, maybe faster. But it's hard style hardcore. But I've been open to it. As I want to be open to it, I would just possibly just listen to my house channel or my trance channel. If that were the case. So
yeah, happy hardcore's definitely got its niche for people, but that's why you always throw events with more than one room, so that way you can leave that room and go into the other room. Because I can't listen to it. It just all it sounds like is somebody beating a freaking aluminum baseball bat off of a pole just over and over, and that's all I can hear.
Yeah.
And everybody's different, man, and everybody's got a right to like what they like. So
everybody is different. They
And
don't
that's
have a right to like what they like, but they're different.
Whatever.
totally correct on that. And the cool thing is with the silent disco technology, people can choose what they want to listen to. So
Right.
you have to be on the happy hardcore period, or if we're out doing one of our events, the rest of the park, the rest of the people out there, they don't have to listen to happy hardcore for 4 hours either. And we're actually introducing a new technology here. We're really happy to announce. I'd love to come back on your show once we get it. We've
Yep.
tested it out. It works. But we're going to actually be upgrading our silent disco events to where we're going to be calling them silent concerts. You're actually going to be able to start, instead of just listening to the music on your headsets, you're actually going to be able to start feeling the music. So like you're next to the subwoofer. And you don't have to be standing in front of the stage. You could walk 500 to 1,000 feet away from our stage. You could be behind our stage. You could be anywhere in our vicinity of where our headsets transmit, and you're going to feel like you're standing in front of the subwoofers at the concert without any actual amplified music taking place. It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a game changer for us in the silent disco realm. And fortunately enough, my competitors don't have the badass headsets that we have, so they can't jump on board and do it without spending, a bunch of money to get up to speed. But we're talking with the company right now, and we've ordered the product. We've tested it. We've ordered it. We want to get it in place, and then we're talking possible sponsorship opportunities with them. And
That's awesome. That's how you separate yourself, though, and that's how you get ahead.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things that people say, I mean, obviously, I'm sure Matt could definitely get along with this, is people don't like the silent disco because they can't feel the music. They're used to traditional nightclub. They're used to that big audio system that's just blasting their ears, shaking the room, doing what it's doing, and making you feel like you're literally shaking in your soul to your bones. Well,
Oh yeah.
These devices we're looking at getting are going to be able to do that, and you'll still be able to social distance and partake in the event and feel that music. It's
Is that like
be
that suit thing that you wear that like shakes you and stuff?
Yeah,
I'm not saying you don't have to say anything you don't want to.
No.
I've seen some prototype stuff that looks crazy.
It's not that immersive. It's much easier to wear. It's the original devices that were out. They were a vest that you would wear,
right?
And that's just too cumbersome. But the company we're working with, they actually make a hint, what's called a strap that goes across.
Oh, nice.
Here, you can put it across your waist here, or you can just wear it as a belt. And it has I believe it's called it's like induction. There's a certain terminology to it. You know more about this if I'm going to start pitching it, but basically you get the bass waves, you get the low frequencies of feeling the bass without the amplified music of the bass. They use them a lot for video games. VR, they're using them a lot as well. But we're gonna
because that VR thing where you get like hit, it'll actually feel like you're actually getting hit.
Exactly. And so we're going to be combining our silent disco technology with this product, and we already know it's going to work because we've tested it out. But we're just really excited to be able to announce this. Look for the press release coming out soon. I'll probably shoot it out to everyone. And
that's fantastic.
The silent discos to now what we want to try to. We're debating on what we're going to call them. I like the term silent concert. Because we call it a silent nightclub because we do our events during the day. We don't want to call it silent rave because we don't necessarily want to be attached to the rave culture.
Right.
But we can't call it silent event. We could call it silent event, but if we call it an event, well, then the state can come down and say, you're throwing events.
Oh,
You're supposed to be doing events right now. And they could come after us for silent concert, but, we want to maybe just, we're playing around with it. We'll see how it works out. But definitely, it's going to be a game changer that we're really looking forward to launching here in the near future.
Well, when you're ready, man, we'll definitely have you back on. But where can people find you in the meantime?
Our website, thedjsessions.com. And all of our socials are there. Basically, follow us online. One of the biggest things I can say is two things. Follow us on Twitch. You'll get a notification when we go live. And follow us on iTunes or subscribe to our podcast. We're on all the podcasts, whatever medium you like to use, Stitcher, iHeart, all of it out there. Subscribe to us there, and you'll automatically get our shows. A lot of the podcast feeds, though, will give you the audio version of our shows. iTunes will give you the video version.
Oh, nice. That's good.
And our website obviously has all of our episodes. As our podcast feeds update, our website updates along with the podcast feed. So You can follow us there as well. And definitely register for a Twitch account, jump in that chat room, and you can chat with us on our website, and we'll engage. I'll say hi to you. And we always love hearing from people and feedback on the shows, and meeting new people online.
Awesome. Well, everybody, we'll make sure we include all those links in the description as we always do, because it makes it easier for you guys to find the people we're talking to. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. See you next time.
Right.